harassment, and violence. Workplace Harassment Prevention Policy. Versys is committed to protecting the health, safety, social, and psychological well-being of its employees by supporting a respectful workplace free of harassment. Versys considers any harassment to be of serious nature. This type of behavior is a hazard, and we are committed to eliminate and/or control any occurrence at the work site. It will include in an inspection or hazard assessment report, as well as reporting procedures to ensure any incidents are fully investigated and controls are put in place. This policy is not intended to discourage a worker from exercising their rights. Any acts of harassment will not be tolerated. All workers, visitors, contractors, subcontractors, or members of the public that are exposed to or observe workplace harassment are required to report the activities to their supervisor or management immediately. All reported incidents will be investigated by management. This policy applies to all employees, contractors, subcontractors, and visitors of Versys. What is workplace harassment? Workplace harassment means any single incident or repeated incidents of objectionable or unwelcome conduct, comment, bullying, or action by a person that the person knows or ought to reasonably know will or would cause offense or humiliation to a worker or adversely affects the worker's health and safety and includes conduct, comment, bullying, or action because of race, religious beliefs, color, physical disability, mental disability, age, ancestry, place of origin, marital status, source of income, family status, gender, gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation and a sexual solicitation or advance. Reasonable action taken by the employer or supervisor relating to the management and direction of worker or a work site is not workplace harassment. Workplace harassment that will not be tolerated include, but is not limited to, verbal or physical abuse, threats, derogatory remarks, jokes, innuendo, or taunts related to any employee's race, religious beliefs, color, gender, physical or mental disabilities, age, ancestry, place of origin, marital status, source of income, family status, or sexual orientation or sexual identity. Unwanted sexual advances, unwanted verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature, practical jokes that result in awkwardness or embarrassment, unwelcome invitations or requests, whether indirect or explicit, pictures or pornographic materials. The behavior needs not to be intentional in order to be considered harassment. Manager and supervisor responsibilities. Supervisors and managers are responsible for promptly investigating any workplace behavior which contribute to a disrespectful workplace. All investigations should be thoroughly documented and remain confidential. Worker responsibilities. Workers are responsible for reporting any incident of workplace harassment to their supervisor immediately and participating in the subsequent investigation and control measures put in place to reduce exposure to the identified hazard. Included behavior and location. For the purpose of this type of policy, the types of behavior which constitute harassment include, but are not limited to, verbal abuse or threats, offensive comments and actions deliberately designed to demean, belittle, or humiliate an individual or group, and non-consensual and physical contact, and can occur at the workplace, at employment-related social functions, in the course of work assignments outside the workplace, at work-related conferences or training sessions, during work-related travel, over the telephone if the conversation is a result of work-related responsibilities or a work-related relationship, elsewhere if the person harassed is there as a result of work-related responsibilities or work-related relationship. If you are being harassed, please follow the steps below. Tell the harasser that their behavior is unwelcome and ask them to stop. Keep a record of incidents, including dates, times, locations, possible witnesses, what happened, and your response. You do not have to have a record of events in order to make a complaint, but a record can strengthen your case and help you remember details over time. Report the incident verbally or in writing to your direct supervisor, a health and safety committee member, or to management. A written incident reporting form can also be used for reporting purposes. This harassment prevention policy does not discourage a worker from exercising the worker's right under any other law, including state, provincial, or federal laws. You can report any incident of harassment or assault that has occurred to the police. If harassment occurs, Versys takes any matter of harassment and/or violence very seriously. Any worker performing or partaking in any type of workplace harassment will have an immediate meeting with management in order for the situation to be examined. All incidents will be thoroughly investigated and documented in the most confidential manner. Versys will provide support to those that are exposed to incidents of workplace harassment. Any worker who is exposed to workplace harassment will be referred to a health professional should it be required. Those partaking in harassment, threats, or violence will also be referred for treatment to prevent this situation from occurring again. Should workers exposed to workplace harassment refuse treatment, they shall provide a letter of refusal. Should workers that have taken part in workplace harassment refuse treatment, they shall be forwarded directly onto the disciplinary policy. No action shall be taken against an individual for making a harassment complaint unless the complaint is made maliciously or without reasonable and probable grounds. Non-retaliation. No workers can be penalized, reprimanded, or in any way criticized when acting in good faith while following this policy and the supporting procedures for addressing situations involving harassment. Workplace violence prevention policy. Versys considers any violence, threats, vandalism, or harassment to be of serious nature. This type of behavior is a hazard, and we are committed to eliminating and/or controlling any occurrences at the work site. Risk of violence will be included in an inspection or hazard assessment report, as well as reporting procedures to ensure any incidents are fully investigated and controls are put into place. Confidentiality will be maintained for all involved individuals during the investigation process. Workers are encouraged to exercise their rights. All workers, visitors, contractors, subcontractors, or members of the public that are exposed to or observe workplace violence are required to report the activities to a supervisor or management immediately. All reported incidents will be investigated by management. What is workplace violence? Workplace violence, whether at a work site or work-related, is the threatened, attempted, or actual conduct of a person that causes or is likely to cause physical or psychological injury or harm and includes domestic or sexual violence. What is a dangerous weapon? A dangerous weapon is any instrument capable of producing bodily harm in a manner and or under circumstances that manifest intent to harm or intimidate another person or that warrants alarm for the safety of another person. Workplace violence behaviors can include, but are not limited to, verbal abuse or threats, offensive comments or actions deliberately designed to threaten or harm another individual, threatening behaviors such as shaking fists, destroying property, or throwing objects, verbal or written threats that express an intent to inflict harm, physical attacks, any other act that would arouse fear in a reasonable person in the circumstances, carrying a firearm or dangerous weapon on the person or in a vehicle. Violence can occur at the workplace, at employment-related social functions, in the course of work assignments outside of the workplace, at work-related conferences or training sessions, during work-related travel, over the telephone if the conversation is a result of work-related relationship or responsibilities, or elsewhere if the person harassed is there as a result of work-related responsibilities or work-related relationship. Reporting workplace violence. Any individual who believes that violence has, does, or could exist should verbally report this to their immediate supervisor. Other satisfactory methods of reporting include written reporting through letter, text, email, or reporting documentation. Complete necessary reporting documentation and keep a record of incidents, dates, times, locations, possible witnesses, what happened, and your response. Any report of violence will be investigated immediately and confidentially, and appropriate action will be taken to prevent reoccurrence. No worker can be penalized, reprimanded, or in any way criticized when acting in good faith while following this policy and the supporting procedures for addressing situations involving workplace violence.